Hello everyone, we are from Group 2 and today we are going to talk about agriculture allowance and forest allowance in Malaysian taxation. Before entering today's topic, Mr. B would like to join us to understand more on the topic.
Hello.
So, without further ado, let's get into our topic. Agriculture allowance will be given to a person who incurs qualifying agriculture expenditure for the purpose of agriculture business in order to set off against the adjusted income from that business to arrive at the statutory income. A proportion of the qualifying agriculture expenditure will be given agriculture allowance by according to the rates in the year of acquisition and subsequent years up to the exhaustion of qualifying expenditure. So, you might ask, what kind of business can be considered as agriculture business? Well, any form of cultivation of crops, animal farming, aquaculture, inland fishing, and any other agricultural or pastoral pursuit which state under Section 18 can be considered as agriculture business. The definition of crops here includes any form of vegetable produce except flowers. As for farm, it is any land that is used for the purpose of agriculture.
How about new planting?
The expenses on new planting can be claimed for agricultural allowance. However, on certain conditions such as planting new crops on virgin land, replacing new crops on the old crops of different product, and purchasing land from previous owner by planting the same crops.
Does replanting can claim for agricultural allowance?
Replanting would not qualify for agricultural allowance, however, can get deduction for replanting expenditure at the adjusted income, which include land clearing costs, planting costs, and costs on improvement work. The rate for agriculture allowance is stated as the table, which clearing and preparation of land for the purpose of agriculture is 50%. The planting but not replanting of crops on land cleared for planting is 50%. The construction on farm of roads or bridges is also 50%. As for construction on a farm of a building for the welfare of person or as living accommodation for a person employed for the working of a farm, such as employee quarters or temple, will be given a 20% rate. As for the construction of any other building such as smokehouse and office, it is 10%. Take note that the cost of the land and plant and machinery are excluded, which plant and machinery will be given normal capital allowance. Besides, there will be no initial allowance for the qualifying agriculture expenditure.
How to be eligible for agricultural allowance claim?
To be eligible for the agriculture allowance claim, the person must own the business at the end of the basis period, and the qualifying agriculture expenditure is in use at the end of the basis period. If the asset is transferred within that basis period of the year, the asset must be in use within 1 month before the transfer so that the transferor can claim the agriculture allowance, whereas the transferee would claim the remaining part of allowance irrespective of his basis period and purchase consideration. The agriculture allowance will be claimed as below when the asset is disposed of. The transferor can claim allowance up to date of disposal in year of assessment of disposal if asset was in use within 1 month before disposal. The apportionment of agriculture allowance is using the following formula. Days on before transfer divided by 365 days times by agriculture allowance. The transferee can claim only the remaining agriculture allowance due to transferor. If the year of assessment of acquisition is the year of assessment of disposal, the transferee can claim part of the allowance only in the year of assessment of acquisition. Agriculture charge is similar to balancing charge. It is a withdrawal of previously given agriculture allowance. Taxpayer can elect to spread back the agriculture charge to the past year of assessment evenly rather than only the year of disposal. The condition of election for spread back would be permanently ceased and by notice in writing within 3 months of the year of assessment following the first mentioned year of assessment.
When agricultural charge would exist?
The agriculture charge would exist when the business receives grants from government, or state government or statutory authority to relieve the farmer burden. However, this paragraph is deleted with effect from 10th of January of 2013. In addition, the agriculture charge would exist also when there is disposal of qualifying agriculture expenditure within 5 years from the incurring of such expenditure. This is with effect from 1st of January of 2014.
Forest allowance is allowance available to a person who incur qualifying forest expenditure in the business of extracting timber in forest. Qualifying forest expenditure incurred by a person who has license to extract timber on the construction in forest of road or building used for the purpose of a forest business, or a building provided for the welfare of a person as living accommodation. There are no initial allowance provided for forest allowance, and there are only annual allowance provided for forest allowance. The rate of annual allowance provided for road or building used for the forest business is 10%, while the rate of annual allowance provided for a building of welfare of employee or living accommodation is 20%. The rule on claiming forest allowance is full year allowance provided if the business incurring expenditure in the basic period and it provided until the year of disposal or permanent cessation.
What is permanent cessation?
When the forest business permanent cessation to extract timber from forest, the remaining resident expenditure for the company is calculated as forest allowance for the basic period of cessation.
How about disposal?
If the forest business are disposal after the basic period of cessation, the disposal of forest business will be assumed have been made in basic period of cessation. Based on the rules of disposal, the transferee will not get any forest allowance for the forest expenditure they get from the transferor. The forest allowance for the transferee will only give for the new qualifying expenditure incurred by the transferee. If the business disposal after claiming for forest allowance, the company will be charged for forest charge, which is claimed back for their forest allowance.
That's all from us on sharing about this topic. Thank you to all of you for paying attention to our group video. Bye!